Please subscribe, like and comment and share. Loki, the Savior. Scene 1, the prophecy ignored. The golden halls of Asgard gleamed with their usual magnificence, but tension crackled through the air like lightning before a storm. Thor stood at the center of the throne room, Mjolnir gripped tight in his fist, while Odin sat upon his throne with Frigga at his side. Between them, bound in shimmering chains that pulsed with ancient magic, knelt Loki. "The prophecy is clear," Loki said, his voice steady despite his restraints. "In 3 days' time, the void serpent will break free from its prison beneath the 9 realms. It will consume world after world, starting with Midgard, until nothing remains but endless darkness." Thor scoffed, his face flushed with anger. "More of your tricks, brother. How many times must you deceive us before we learn? This is no deception." Loki's eyes flashed with desperate urgency. "I discovered it in the forbidden texts of Jotunheim. The serpent spawns weaken with each passing century, and the alignment of the realms will complete its release. Only the Tesseract's power, channeled through someone who understands both light and shadow, can reinforce the prison." Odin's single eye studied his adopted son with a mixture of weariness and suspicion. "You speak of forbidden knowledge, Loki. Knowledge you should never have sought. And now you claim only you can save us? This sounds remarkably convenient." "Father, please." Loki strained against his bonds, his usual composure cracking. "I know I've given you every reason to doubt me. But this is real. The signs are already manifesting: the tremors in the lower realms, the darkening of the Bifrost's light, the screams that echo from the deep places. You must feel it." Frigga placed a gentle hand on Odin's arm, concern etched across her features. "My king, perhaps we should investigate her?" "No," Odin's voice rang with finality. "Loki will remain in prison until his trial. If this prophecy is true, our scholars will discover it through proper means. I will not be manipulated again." As the guards dragged Loki back to his cell, he called out one last time, "When the darkness comes, remember that I tried to warn you." Scene 2, the breaking. 48 hours later, the prophecy began to fulfill itself. The sky above Asgard split open like a wound, revealing a churning void of absolute blackness. From the depths of reality itself came a sound, and not quite a roar, not quite a screamer that made even the bravest Asgardian warriors clutch their ears in agony. The void serpent emerged, its form too vast and terrible for mortal comprehension. Where it moved, stars winked out. Where it breathed, worlds withered. Its eyes, if they could be called eyes, burned with the hunger of eons spent in imprisonment. Thor launched himself into battle, Mjolnir blazing with lightning. His hammer struck the creature's hide and simply passed through, as if hitting smoke. The serpent's tail whipped across the Bifrost, shattering the rainbow bridge into 1,000 glittering fragments. In the dungeons below, Loki pressed himself against the barrier of his cell, feeling the foundations of Asgard shake. Water dripped from cracks forming in the ancient stone. He had to smile bitterly. He'd been right, for all the good it did him now. Then Frigga appeared, her face pale but determined. "I believe you," she said simply, her hands already weaving the spell to unlock his cell. "Mother, if Odin discovers her?" "Your father is holding the western wall with the Einherjar. The serpent's advance has already consumed Vanaheim. Midgard will be next, and then Asgard itself." She pulled him from the cell. "You said you knew how to stop this. Tell me what you need." Loki's mind raced. "The Tesseract, as I said. But also something more. I need the serpent to consume me." Frigga's eyes widened in horror. "Absolutely not. There must be another way." "There isn't." Loki gripped her shoulders. "The prison must be reinforced from within, using both the Tesseract's power and a willing sacrifice. someone who can navigate the space between worlds, between truth and lie, between order and chaos. Mother, this is what I was meant for. Perhaps this is why fate made me different. Tears streamed down Frigga's face, but she nodded. She led him through the collapsing palace to the vault, where the Tesseract sat in its protective case, still glowing with infinite energy. Scene 3, The Sacrifice. Thor met them at the vault entrance, battered and bloody from his futile battle. Loki? Mother, what is this? Let him pass, Thor, Frigga commanded. He's a prisoner. A traitor. He's your brother, she said fiercely. And he's our only hope. Loki picked up the Tesseract, feeling its power surge through him. He could feel every dimension, every possibility, every thread of reality that it touched. For the first time in his life, he felt truly whole. I don't expect forgiveness, Loki said to Thor. But I need you to trust me one final time. When I'm inside the serpent, when I'm reinforcing the prison, the backlash will be catastrophic. You must use Mjolnir to seal the dimensional rift behind me. Do you understand? Thor's jaw clenched. Despite everything, despite all the betrayals and lies, he could see the truth burning in his brother's eyes. I understand. Together, they flew toward the void serpent, now looming over Asgard's golden spires like a nightmare-given form. Loki clutched the Tesseract to his chest, his heart pounding. He had spent his entire life trying to prove himself worthy, trying to be more than the abandoned frost giant child. Perhaps this was the only way he ever could. For Asgard. He shouted, and let the serpent's mouth close around him. Inside the creature was infinite darkness, infinite cold, infinite hunger. Loki felt himself being dissolved, unmade at the most fundamental level. But he held tight to the Tesseract, letting its power flow through him, transforming him into pure energy. He found the serpent's core, the ancient prison that had weakened over millennia. Using every ounce of his magic, every trick and illusion and transformation he'd ever learned, he wove himself into the fabric of the prison. He became the lock and the key, the guard and the prisoner, forever holding the darkness at bay. Outside, Thor saw the serpent convulse, saw reality itself shudder and crack. He raised Mjolnir high and brought it down with all his might, channeling every joule of lightning he could summon. The dimensional rift blazed with white fire, then sealed with a thunderous boom that echoed across all 9 realms. The void serpent was gone. Loki was gone. Scene 4, The Legend. 1 year later, Thor stood before a new monument in Asgard's Hall of Heroes. Carved from black stone streaked with green, it depicted Loki holding the Tesseract aloft, his cape billowing behind him. The inscription read, Loki Odinson, trickster god, savior of the 9 realms. Odin approached, leaning heavily on Gungnir, looking older than Thor had ever seen him. I was wrong about him, the All-Father said quietly. I saw only his faults, his mischief, his hunger for recognition. I never saw his courage. He saved us all, Thor replied, his voice thick with emotion. And I never even told him. I never said I was proud to call him brother. In the deepest places of reality, in the space between dimensions where the void serpent remained forever imprisoned, something that had once been Loki stirred. He could no longer remember his name or his face. He could no longer recall the golden halls or the family he'd left behind. But somewhere in the endless dark, a smile flickered, the smile of a trickster who had played his greatest trick of all. He had made them believe he could never be a hero. And in being wrong about him, they had let him become exactly that.